Good morning, guys. Good morning. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I hope you guys can hear me okay. Let me know if I'm coming through all right. I wanted to come in and talk to you because today is kind of the day before the big day, and the big day is obviously the 2024 All Black National Convention. And as I'm sort of talking to you right now, I want you guys to know that I am driving. And I'm driving because I'm in the middle of doing some of the pre convention preparation. But my goal is to always try to keep my routine. You know, I always like to try to stay consistent with my schedule and not change too many things when the convention happens. Because this is not I don't know, I just like to I believe consistency is the key to success. And I picked up a lot of that when I was getting my PhD. It took me many years. I started my doctoral work when I was 22 years old. 22, I just turned 22, and I went to the PhD program at Indiana University. I got my ass completely kicked, and this was very humbling because I had made straight A's pretty much all the way through college. And in every class I was in, damn near, I was always the top student. So it really tests your character. It forces you to develop your character and forces you to choose what kind of character you're going to have when you're in a situation where you used to be the superstar and now you're kind of at the bottom of the pile, right? That was my reality, right? I went from being, the guy who was seen as the genius and who would ace every test to being the guy who struggled the most, and it was really terrible. And anyway, during that time, and that was because I just had different competition. Also, the skill set was different. I didn't really in business schools you don't learn enough mathematics. If I could do my education over again, I would have studied math instead of business because the thing about mathematics is that if you understand things like math or engineering or things like that, you can learn things really easily. You can really learn other topics easily. Like the economists and the mathematicians and stuff were always the top finance students because finance is nothing but mathematics applied. But if you come from the other direction, like if you come from a business school and you're trying to learn mathematics as a business school graduate, it's very difficult. So I went the opposite direction because I didn't have any mentors really to explain these things. I didn't know anybody who'd ever, studied to get a PhD in finance. So I got killed. I mean, in the program I was in Indiana it was built on theoretical mathematics. And I remember, for example, just to give you an example of how torturous it was, I the one of the first class I took when I got to Indiana was this math class called real analysis. And in this class, there were literally math PhD students in this class. Real analysis is the class you take after you take calculus 1, calculus 2, calculus 3, calculus 4, and linear algebra. And then you're qualified for this class, right? So I mean, I just got slammed. It was terrible. I mean, one day my mother called me, and it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and she said, "Why are you still in the bed?" And because when she called me, I had a full day, and I just was still in the bed at 4 o'clock. And she said, "Why are you still in the bed?" I said, "Because there's no point in getting up. I can't do this." And so it was really hard and really embarrassing. And I was in this class full of like these really arrogant white boys who saw my struggle as kind of proof that black people, that we get promoted, on ideas other than merit, right? So this whole battle against DEI, and affirmative action has been going on for a long time. There've been conservative, racist white males since white males came into existence. So this was in the 90s though, and during the time they called the Republican Revolution, and headed by a guy named Newt Gingrich. And I don't know if y'all remember that, but it was really kind of hard to be black, because there's just a lot of rhetoric being thrown around, and Rush Limbaugh was kind of new on the scene, and everybody loved Rush, and it's really just so what you're seeing right now in terms of the Elon Musk and the Donald Trumps and what's happening there is kind of a repeat of what's happened in the past. I'm not completely mad at it all the time. I mean, I don't get as offended by what white males think about me, but this sort of competition is something that's always been It's always been in existence. There's always been a competition, whether you know it or not, where white male dominance is something that has always been something that we've had to deal with and battle against. I don't think it's a reason to hate people, and every white man is not trying to become your oppressor. But I do think that when you're talking about just getting out here and getting what's yours, you're gonna have to fight for that, right? And I don't, and I think that we as a community lost some of our fight, with some people that were well intended, but they kind of taught us to be this sort of subjugated weaker class, right? Like we put ourselves in this special category where we just kind of say, well, we don't have to compete because we ride the little bus to school. And I never wanted to be the kid on the little bus. I want to fight for the big piece of chicken, because I think that that's what we can have if we put our best foot forward. I think that we are strong and powerful, excellent and resilient when we choose to be. I think that black people, uh, B1 people, definitely have everything that we need to be extraordinary. We've really got the juice, right? And so anyway, so yeah, so that experience was really tough. And after 2 years at Indiana University, I just got tired of being the weakest link. And so I read a book by Michael Jordan, where Michael Jordan, in his book, I was inspired by his excellence as a basketball player, winning all those championships. And in his book, I remember Jordan said something that really stuck with me. Uh, he said that if a tree stops growing, the tree starts dying. And basically, you got to always see yourself as a growing thing. Like you're not what you are. You can always be better. You can always be smarter. You can always go to the next level. There's always another level waiting for you if you choose to accept the challenge. And he also said that when you have a weakness, you should work on your weakness until it becomes your greatest strength, right? If you're not good at something, you don't just say like in my case at that time, relative to my peers, who were very intelligent people, very high level students, relative to my peers, I was weak at mathematics. And I remember saying to myself, well, I don't have to always be weak at mathematics. I can become great at mathematics. I just have to put in the work to be good at mathematics. So based on literally from after reading Michael Jordan's book, I actually left the program and said, I'm going to spend 3 years studying math and statistics nonstop. Or actually, I planned on spending 2 years at the time, but it turned into three. And I'm glad it was three. It was an amazing experience. I went back to my alma mater, University of Kentucky, and I didn't go back in sort of any sort of shadow of shame. I went back sort of with a vengeance, right? I went back with unfinished business. Like when I went back, I said, no, 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 this ain't over yet. I said this ain't over yet. We gonna fight. So I went back and I just said I'm gonna bust my ass and I'm gonna show these people because I'm gonna end up being one of the best at this thing that I used to not be so good at. So long story short, I went back to Kentucky for 3 years. I did nothing but study math and statistics for 3 straight years. I thought about the same thing every single day, every morning, just like I do right now. This is with the origin story, right? This is my superhero origin story, part of it, where it was through intense pain and disappointment that I was able to find my strength. Right. So after spending 3 years studying math and statistics nonstop, I completed the requirements for a master's degree in both math and statistics. And then I went back and I was actually, when I finished my doctorate, I was actually one of the strongest math students. I went from being the weakest to the strongest, and that was because because of Michael Jordan in his book. So long story short, I think that overall, it's first of all, I think I share that just to let you guys know if I ever seem to have almost like this fanatical consistency when it comes to what I do. Like the fact that I get up every single day and do the exact same thing, and I've been doing this for well over a decade, really 15 years or so. That comes from the doctoral program, right? It comes from the fact that it was a torturous experience. My wife and I joke about, how we can tell the difference between people who really earn their PhD versus people who have an honorary PhD or went to an online school or just, started calling themselves doctor for whatever reason, is because when you go through those programs, they're really it's really hazing. It's really traumatic. It's really stressful. It's really hard. It's really like where you get to the point, it's like feeling like you're in water and you're just drowning. And then even if you're a good swimmer, you're still drowning and you're being called a bad swimmer every step of the way. That's just a terrible feeling. But what it really does is it gives you real confidence. Like once you make it through, you get real confidence because your confidence isn't built on arrogance. Arrogance is false confidence. A lot of people like arrogance. Like they say, ladies are attracted to men who have big egos. And y'all remember Beyonce had that song, "I like his big ego. I like his big ego," right? And I don't think having a big ego is the same as confidence. There's a lot of people that are very that have big egos that have nothing to have a big ego about. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm talking about. You know, people that are just like, well, I'm just going to fake it till I make it, or I'm just going to pretend like I've accomplished something that I haven't accomplished. I'm going to pretend like I am something that I'm not. I'm going to be all flash and no substance. I think that's where, personally, I always had an issue with the Diddy's of the world, because Diddy was always a guy that would just talk loud. And he thought that because he was talking loud, that that was the same as actually really doing something. You know, and the thing about it is that based on how I was raised by a Southern black man, just a real solid dude. You know, we can see weak men from a mile away. Like you can see right through it. You can see through the loud, flashy nonsense. You know, and unfortunately, hip hop culture trains a lot of these poor brothers to just be loud. Like just like you think that because you're loud that that's actually effective, that that means something. And I think that that's critical to know the difference, because you'll get, you know, ladies, you'll line up with some dude that's loud and you'll think that that's the same as him actually being an accomplished man, or a man that can actually get things done, or a man that can be a provider and protector. But what happens, unfortunately, with people that only know how to be loud but don't know how to have substance is that when times get hard, they buckle like a bitch. They do. When times get go seriously, y'all know. So give me a yes if you know what I'm talking about. If you've seen people like this, where when times are good and easy, they're super loud, super confident, super bold, super whatever. The flashiest guy in the room, best dressed guy in the room, smells the best, you know, flashes money. But then when stuff gets hard, like when life really kicks you in your ass, when you get stomped in your face and crushed, your soul gets crushed, or times get or it's time for them to really show up and come through in a difficult situation. Like it's time for you to find a way to take care of your kids, even though you ain't got no money, or you it's time for you to really be the kind of man that your woman needs you to be, because the family's lacking confidence in the moment. Or maybe it's a situation where the group needs leadership. Guys like that are just not very good at that. They because they were never trained by that. You know, they were never trained to sort of understand what that looks like. So sometimes the best confidence comes from being humble, and I think that that's why I connect so well with a lot of with veterans. I talked to my friend the other day, Asha Castleberry. I'm going to bring her into class. She just wrote a book on national security. It's called literally Why National Security Matters. And Asha, I've known Asha since she was an undergrad when I met her in China, and since that time she's become a high-ranking military official. And I think that what I what I respect is that she's a person that that could kill you. She's trained to kill. She's a person that knows how to you know, stand up, defend herself, to lead, or whatever is required. But there's not a lot of arrogance attached to that. There's not a lot of loudness. It's just sort of this very humble but very relevant, meaningful, and substantive ability to do what the job requires, right? To just do what is required, and not even to just do your best. You know, people think that if you just do your best, that that's enough to get through life. No, you can't just do your best is not good enough sometimes. Sometimes doing your best is not going to get you what you need. Sometimes you have to do what is required, and that requires you to do better than your best. And the only way you can even fathom what it means to do better than your best is if you have a certain level of consciousness, because consciousness is awareness. You're right. If I'm only aware of what I can do, if I'm only aware of what I am, then I have no consciousness and no awareness of what I could be. You understand? Like consciousness is going to higher dimensions. So if I only know what's inside the box, then I have no awareness of what's outside the box. And this is a problem a lot of people have. This is why they don't have any vision. They don't have any sort of foresight. They can't plan and prepare for the future. That you got to develop that prefrontal cortex in your brain that gives you your consciousness. That gives you that ability to just know, like, okay, this is who I am. This is what I am. But this is not all that I can ever be. In fact, if I compare what I am to what I could be, I'd be willing to bet you that what you are is only 10% of what you could be. I bet that what you are is nothing compared to what you could be. So in order for you to be what you could be, you're going to have to gain consciousness. You're going to have to understand that what's out there. You have to know that it exists, or it could exist, and that whether it comes into existence or not is really your decision. It's your choice. Do you want it to exist? Or do you want to live with whatever weak-ass reality the world has fed to you as a lowly, pathetic black person? A lowly Negro. Lord Jesus, we can't do nothing. We can't read. We can't write. Lord Jesus, we can't do nothing. We can't feed ourselves. Mr. White Man, if you don't come through for us, and we can't accomplish nothing. We can't do nothing, right? So I think that overall, when you're talking about really, really, really reaching your potential, in my opinion, and I don't even know everything about this because I haven't reached my potential. I told you who I am. I believe is like a tiny fraction of what I could be. I haven't become that guy yet, right? But one thing I do believe is that being the best and being at your best means making a commitment to say, like, I'm not just gonna do my best. Suckers do their best. So, what they say? They say that suckers do whatever they can do, but the people that win are the people that do what is required. So I think the question to ask in your life, as you're thinking about going to the next level and figuring out what you want to be and what you want to do, um, is ask yourself, are you willing to do what is required to achieve your goal? Now, do me a favor. Give me a quick yes. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Let me know. Give me a quick yes if you can hear me. Somebody said stop, Boyce. I don't know if stop means like stop talking because you can't hear me. But anyway, let me know if you guys can hear me okay. And this is my replacement for Money in the Morning. We do our economic elevation training every morning at 10 a.m. And because I am in between spaces trying to get back to the hotel for the All Black National Convention, I said, you know what? While I'm driving back to the hotel, let me just go live and shoot out a text message and let everybody know that I'm talking now. It's so that just in case I can't make it back on time, we can go ahead and have some of our conversation now. What I'll do is if I get back to the hotel in time to log into the private Zoom, I will come in and just say hello. But I can't really stay very long just because there's so much stuff to do for the convention. The All Black National Convention is it's completely sold out. So don't try to just roll up in Chicago and come in or get a ticket because there won't be anybody there to sell tickets. I wish that wasn't the case, but we did sell out of every single ticket at every single tier. So, but there will be next year. And the one thing that I can tell you is right after the convention is over, I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to purchase next year's tickets if you want to go ahead and lock in your spot early. So it's going to be super exciting. We got some amazing people that are doing a ton of panels. Now, which MJ book was it, Ebony? I don't even remember which book it was, Ebony. I wish I could tell you. I just know that it was written by Michael Jordan. And I think I was intrigued by Jordan because I'm just intrigued by anybody who's excellent at what they do. And also, I'm an athlete. So, watching a great basketball player resonated with me like it does with a lot of people that love sports. And even though I don't agree with Jordan's politics, and I definitely don't agree with his personality, in terms of what I've seen anyway, situations where this man is clearly a little bit damaged. Like I'm sure his therapist would have a lot to say about what drives him. So I don't know if it's the healthiest kind of drive. But even despite all that, you can't deny his excellence. You can't deny the fact that he was able to just do what was required, in every situation. When it came time to figure out how to get to the next level, the man was committed to it, and also has shown up in terms of his wealth. I think Michael Jordan now, he was the highest paid player in the NBA when he played, toward the end of his career. But he also now probably makes 10 times more money now than he did when he played basketball, right? Because he understands that basketball isn't just a sport; it's about brand building, and the Air Jordan brand has just been resilient through all these years. I personally know Larry Miller, who was Michael Jordan's CEO, of the Air Jordan brand for many years. And Larry is a brilliant guy. Larry came to our All Black National Convention and spoke in when we were in Charlotte. I don't remember what year it was. I want to say it was 2022. And Larry's a friend of mine. I respect Larry immensely, largely because Larry's just a cool brother, and he's also a guy that's doing excellent work on mass incarceration. Larry did 10 years in prison, actually. You should hold on, hold on. Sorry, my phone is telling me that there's a speed check. But anyway, so Larry has been doing excellent work on mass incarceration because for many years he had a big, deep, dark secret. And his secret was that he did 10 years in prison. He got his bachelor's degree in prison, if I'm not mistaken. And that allowed him to have a lot of skills that he was then able to apply to help him get things done. Well, what happened with Larry was that for whatever reason, when he checked the little when he applied for the job, and he said something like, that they asked, "Have you been convicted of a felony?" Larry just said no, hoping that they wouldn't notice, because if you say yes, right, they're not going to give you the job anyway. So I guess Larry was like, I might as well just not even tell them the truth. And so he got these jobs, and he kept getting promoted, and he went up and up the ladder, like up, 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 up. And eventually he becomes the CEO of the freaking Air Jordan brand. He became the president of the Portland Trailblazers. And so it was insane. So Larry, eventually he just fessed up and said, this is my past. And I think the owner of the Trailblazers, Paul Allen, literally was like, I don't care about your past. I know what kind of man you are now. Because Larry got caught up, like a lot of our young guys, he got caught up in a situation when he was 16 and made a terrible mistake. And he ended up doing many years in prison because of that. So anyway, Larry is giving back by basically advocating for something that I agree with, which is that we should allow those who are incarcerated to get education while they are incarcerated. Like if somebody's locked up and they've got all this time, they've got a valuable asset in their hands. I told you all, the most valuable asset in the world is not the money in your bank account. The most valuable financial asset on the planet is time. Because if you gave me enough time, I could turn anybody in this room into a billionaire if you gave me enough time. Time is the missing ingredient. So this is why I tell you guys, don't listen to like fast money schemes where they're like, oh yeah, you can make $10 million in 2 weeks. That's not typically going to work because they're missing the key ingredient. They're missing time. That's like somebody telling you, I'm gonna make you some delicious Kool-Aid, but I'm not gonna put any water in it, and there's gonna be no sugar in it at all. Like there's nothing, no sweetener, no nothing. You can't make delicious Kool-Aid without a sweetener and some water. I'm gonna say a sweetener because some of y'all might not have grew up on the sugar like I did, but shoot, you know what I'm talking about. Some delicious Kool-Aid. And somebody told me I'm gonna make you some amazing Kool-Aid, but we have no water in the house. How the hell you gonna do that? Like, what are we gonna do? Suck on the Kool-Aid pack? Spit on it? Like, that's not gonna work. So time is to wealth what water is to delicious Kool-Aid. If you got enough water and then you got some Kool-Aid, you can put in that water with something to make it nice and sweet. You can have a wonderful day, right? It can turn a torturous hot summer day into something nice, right? So my point is to say that that time is really that factor that matters. And the thing is, so what's really true is that some of you that have individuals in your family that either are incarcerated, have been incarcerated, or whatever, they have that saying where guys say, don't, do your time, but don't let the time do you, or something like that, or it's just something like that. And I like that statement because there's so much that can get done with that timing. So guys like Larry Miller, what he did was he used his time to become really, really good with like accounting and finance. So when Larry got out, he got all these great jobs. And next thing you know, Larry was the CEO of the Air Jordan brand. And he's made millions of dollars, for rightfully so, because he took Michael Jordan's brand from maybe 300 million a year to several billion. Like, this is a brilliant guy, and he's B1. He's 100% B1. He came to our convention 2 years ago and spoke. These are the types of people that I love to talk to because I like to understand, like, what is your thought process that makes you into that kind of a person. Let me tell you one thing about Larry that's really interesting, just since we're talking about him. And I think it's important to understand for those of you that either are leaders or want people, have people in your family that want to be leaders. Larry is a guy who has an amazing amount of humility. Like you would never really think Larry was the guy who could literally, go hang out with Michael Jordan whenever he wanted to, right? Because he's literally running the Air Jordan brand. And remember, when you run the Air Jordan brand, you have access to all the celebrities, from Beyonce to LeBron to on down. All these people are calling you because they want to do deals with you. And I can swear to you, I put it on everything I love. If you sat and talked to Larry Miller, you would not have any idea that he had this level of power, this level of clout. And that speaks to something that's missing from the culture, right? We have a lot, going back to what I was telling you earlier about sort of hip hop culture training a lot of black men to be loud and obnoxious about everything they have, and you have people that make a couple of dollars and they want to show everybody on Instagram how much money they got, or they want to, or they're even in L.A. There are people living fake lifestyles as social media influencers where they will rent a studio that looks like the inside of a private jet just so they can appear to be exceedingly wealthy, right? This is what people do. And what's interesting, what's unfortunate is they're focused so much on how things look on the outside that they're not putting in the work to make sure things are good on the inside. So if you look at a lot of the individuals who look flashiest on the outside, who look like they're doing well on the outside, if you check on their mental health in many cases is shot. If you check on their financial health is shot. They're looking rich, but they're not actually rich. Even their physical health could be shot, maybe from alcohol, drugs, a lack of fitness, eating the wrong food, whatever, being stressed out all the time, right? So, or if you look at their relationships shot, right? But we don't care because if it sounds good and looks good on social media, then everybody thinks it's great. But I'm gonna tell you, going back to Larry Miller, what I like about the guy is that this guy walks softly and carries a big stick. He knows what he can do. He knows how much power he has, so he doesn't have to wave it in your face all the time. He doesn't have to constantly tell you how he's better than everybody else. This is very different from some other people. Let me tell you, the year that Larry Miller spoke at our convention in 2022, that was when Kanye West called me. I did not reach out to him. He reached out. He was looking for me. He called me, and at that moment, Kanye was probably the most talked about human being on the planet. And for whatever reason, he wanted to talk to me. So we talked, and Kanye was intrigued by what we were doing at the All Black National Convention. He wanted to come in, and I was gonna let him come in, but I was really concerned because of all the attention he was getting at that time. And I'll never forget when I told Larry that Kanye wanted to come to the convention. He wasn't impressed by that at all. He wasn't like, oh wow, that's amazing. That's a big flex. That's really gonna get a lot of attention. You'll be lit. Everybody on the internet will be talking about you. He wasn't like that. He was like, oh gosh, oh no, I don't know. I mean, I can't tell you everything he said because I want to be respectful. But basically, I kind of got a sense that he didn't think that was a very good idea. I kind of got a sense like that. It was more like, yeah, I don't know if Boyce even really wants to engage and talk to him because it's going to distract from the mission of what we're trying to do. And I respected that because there were a lot of people who felt like, oh, if you have a celebrity come to your conference, that's going to make it important, right? And that's what happens a lot of times. The only way to get the attention of black folks is if you attach some celebrity to whatever you're doing. We'll bring some goofy rapper, and we'll look at his fame without looking at the substance of his character. We'll look at how well known he is, how many followers he has, without really looking at what kind of human being this person is. Are they intelligent or not? Do they even value intelligence? You'll have some guy up there who is world famous, has made a ton of money because white people love to put dumb Negroes on TV. And then, and we won't look at the fact that this man don't even take care of his kids. This man is out here spreading STDs to black women. This man is throwing his wealth away. This man is engaging in rhetoric that is harmful to the black community. This man is rapping about murdering black people. Rapping about murdering black people. I mean, just think about it. Isn't that crazy? That's absolutely insane. And then y'all want to get mad when white people do. When white people say something that, when they say, well, we don't agree that Black Lives Matter. Oh, you're racist. That's racist. I said you wouldn't say Black Lives Matter, so you racist. But then a rapper will literally say, I shot 5 Negroes last week. And we'll be like, man, that was lit. Yo, that's a black leader right there. That's a black leader, man. So you got to stop letting the flashy stuff distract you. You have to really sort of think about substance over flash, quality versus quantity. Like what, what is your character? And so just it's just to finish to go full circle on my discussion about Larry Miller is what I like about the guy is he just has good character. Like I just hear him talk and I'm like, this guy, I could talk to this guy. He's capable of processing complex ideas. He's not throwing his penis on the table everywhere he goes. He's not being loud and obnoxious for no reason. Or if there ever is a reason to be loud and obnoxious, he's not doing it. And it's kind of it's very refreshing. I think that's what I like, right? Like this is kind of how we wanted to build around things at the convention, right? The people that we have at the All Black National Convention are not like mainstream celebrities. In fact, we shy away from that. These are the people that provide substance to the Black community. Like for example, there's a guy named Daniel Jennings, who's a young brother who's 36. He was in trucking and real estate, and he was trying to figure out a way to blend trucking and real estate. So he down in Mississippi, he makes these houses, and then he uses his trucking experience to ship the houses to people's like cities wherever they live. So you could buy a house from him for $70,000 and have it shipped out to California, right, where the houses are all $1 million a piece, and have a nice place to live. Those are the types of people I want to talk to. Those are the types of people that the Black community needs. He's the same age as a lot of rappers. He's about 36 years old. But he's not loud. He's not trying to, he's not trying to dance his life away. He's not trying to get jiggy with it or whatever. Whatever type of stuff people do. He's not trying to just get in front of a crowd of white people and get them to pay him money to call himself the N-word. He's trying to build houses for people. He's trying to build a Black business. He's trying to build legacy, right? He's building legacy. He's a builder. And I'm gonna just tell you the truth. I think that we have to really have a hard conversation about the fact that the reason nothing is getting built in the Black community is because you're not honoring your builders. You're not honoring the people that have the substance, the people that are solid, the people that you can depend on. We're not honoring those people. We were honoring the Diddies. 30 years. I'm not saying I'm glad that Diddy is dealing with what he's dealing with. I just wish the Negro had stopped dancing 20 years ago and started building something. I don't feel like he built anything of substance. I mean, he had Bad Boy Records, but I didn't see nobody really come out of there. I mean, he hasn't had a hit since Biggie was alive. And then he's selling vodka to Black people so you can have more parties. And it wasn't even his company. It was a white man's company. He just got a commission. They're like, oh, you can get Black people to drink liquor so they'll die more often and become alcoholics. Good. We'll pay you lots of money to create more alcoholics in the Black community. If any of you, give me a yes in the chat. Give me a yes on this. A yes or no. Have you ever had anybody in your family that was like just a stone cold alcoholic or a stone cold drug addict? How many of y'all have ever dealt with that? Have you ever had like an uncle that was drinking so much that he never reached his potential? Or, a sibling or a spouse or a child that got involved with drugs and literally all the success they could have had in life, the money they could have made, the family they could have built, none of that happened because the drugs and the alcohol distracted them. I want you to reflect on that pain. I want you to really think about how horrible that was. I don't know about y'all. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm being just vulnerable on and maybe too transparent, but it broke my fucking heart to see the men that I admired. It was mostly the men. It wasn't really so much the women. The men. It broke my heart to see men that I looked up to just literally bowing so they could suck on a bottle, getting on their knees and putting something in your mouth and sucking on that bottle all day like a little punk. It bothered me. I hated that. It was terrible to watch, and then trying to talk to, you try to, hold on. Can you guys still hear me? Sorry, I think I might have lost my screen. Sorry about that. Let me know if you give me a quick yes and let me know you can hear me. But yeah, it bothered me because it was like I just think about the fact that when I was a kid, I was looking like I had to become my own leader because I had nobody really to lead me in certain areas. I did. I had to figure out I was going to be by reading books and watching TV and looking at up to people I admire like Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X because I didn't have men like that really in my family. My father that raised me was a great man in one sense, right? He was great at he was a great he was he was like a police commander. I told you guys that, and he's also a very strong man. So that influenced me in that way. But also he did drink sometimes, and also he had a heroin issue early in his life, and I think about what would have happened if he had never gained the discipline to walk away from heroin. Like I just think about what kind of man he would have been, and it would have been terrible. And my biological father, I've told you guys this, the reason he was not in my life is because he was in dealing with drugs. I know I had a friend that said, "Yeah, I met your dad in prison." He went to prison on some kind of drug thing. I gotta go one day. I gotta go look at his whole record. I don't even know his whole criminal record. Now that I'm thinking about that, I think I'm gonna go research that. But it was just like I think there's something about drugs and alcohol that takes what could have been a great man and makes him into a very weak man. It takes a man that could have been a leader and makes him maybe into a follower or a person that could have been an asset to the family, a tremendous asset, and turns him into a liability. Turns him into a liability. And I think, generally speaking, as a culture, the men especially, because men are most affected by things like drugs, alcohol, sex, and gambling. Those are the four things that can bring a great man down: drugs, alcohol, sex, or gambling. If they're not done in moderation. I'm not saying sex is not natural. Sex is very natural, right? But if you are not somehow disciplined in your behavior, then you're gonna lose everything. Look at Diddy. Diddy's gonna lose $1 billion over sex and drugs, right? So the point is to say that when you look at what we're trying to do, right? If you look at these ideas, it's very frustrating when the biggest voices in the black community are speaking in the opposite direction. It's very frustrating when some of the biggest, most well-known, well-respected black men in America are literally doing everything in their power to get more black men to drink liquor. This would be my bone to pick with a Diddy. I'm not saying that liquor is terrible or that you should never partake. I'm just saying that when you look at all the pain and all the disappointment that we have in our men that links itself back to drugs and alcohol, there's a deeper analysis that has to occur when we got to stop that shit. If we don't confront it head on and call it for what it is, then we're gonna continue to live we're gonna live in a world of BS. We're gonna live in this makeup world where somehow we think that we can have black power and black freedom and black progress when ain't nobody really trying to really fight for progress like that. When no one's trying to make any sacrifices. You can't have progress without sacrifice. So who's gonna do it? Who's gonna tell the truth about this? So and for me, it's very hard to talk about alcohol and the effects because it was very painful for me to deal with that. Like, just like, damn, dude, like wow, you're always drinking. So here's the thing. Um, Things like therapy, if you are a person that wants to kind of elevate in that area, I can tell you a big part of the reason that I'm intrigued by what therapists do. You got a lot of black therapists in your community that literally have mental health superpowers. They literally have skill sets that are far more valuable than anything Diddy ever did in his freaking life. They have the ability to help you work through your issues so you don't have to resolve your trauma in a liquor bottle. Most of the people, many of the people that I've seen in our community who get involved in drugs and alcohol, they usually do it because they're trying to numb some type of pain. Am I right? Do you get what I'm saying? Right? There's something that happened to you, something that you've gone through, some sort of stress you're feeling. Maybe it's just like I hate getting up every day and going to work for these horrible white people. So maybe the dopamine releasing activities like sex, drugs, alcohol, or gambling is an escape. It's a release. It makes you feel better temporarily, so you don't have to constantly deal with whatever you're dealing with. Well, what therapists are able to do that I love is they help us pinpoint these issues so that you can at least understand what your triggers are, so that you won't sort of allow yourself to be triggered into behavior that you know is not good for you in the long term, right? You're not going to keep on pursuing the things that are going to just numb you in the moment. You're going to say, no, 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 I promised myself I wasn't going to drink so much anymore. And I know that I tend to drink when I get stressed. Or I know that, that whenever I'm feeling a certain way, I want to go have some sex. But because I don't want to be having sex with people that are not good for me, I'm gonna recognize that trigger and just know kind of what's happening. This is another level of consciousness. Self-awareness is a type of consciousness. Are you self-aware? And what I love about therapists, and this is why I think black therapists, y'all deserve a trophy in my book. God bless all of you. I wish I could. I wish I had Elon Musk money so I could make sure that every black person had access to a therapist or at least knew about the therapist. In my book, the licensed therapists that are out here that really have the skill sets to help the community would be the biggest celebrities in the freaking world, not some 27-year-old rapper who wants every young black boy to get a drug addiction before he's 17 years old. Those individuals are worse than the KKK. Those individuals have been trained by their masters to literally engage in an epic amount of black self-destruction that would make David Duke and the Ku Klux Klan jealous. They say, damn, we wanted to destroy black people, but we don't have nearly as much ability to destroy them as these Negroes do. So we want them to keep rapping. We want to keep funding whatever they're doing because that's helping us. That's putting money in our pocket. That's giving us power. And then we get to sit back and say, well, we didn't do it. we don't know why black people act crazy. We don't know why black kids can't read. We don't know why black people are stuck where they are. Really, just think about it. When you consider, it's really fascinating when you really think about the fact that there are all these millions of kids that are coming out of school that can't even read, write, or do math. It's literally an epic magic trick. It's like something that would make Hitler jealous. Like it's like wow, how is it that in the age of information, where everybody has a university on their cell phone, everyone has access to knowledge now. Stop acting like white people are hiding all the information from you. They can't hide it. They can't hide it. Information is everywhere. So how is it that in the age of information that you have millions of people that voluntarily don't learn how to read? That don't even consider that to be an issue. That don't even sort of sit back and say, man, this should be one of my highest priorities. It's hilarious to me almost. It's hilarious, but it's sad, but hilarious that you can have a kid, a 19-year-old, who can't read, write, or do math, but reading, writing, and doing math is not his top priority. He doesn't see that as a deficiency because all his friends can't read, write, or do math. So so then this person is in the middle of all this pain, all this struggle, and they have no idea why. They have no idea why. It doesn't dawn upon, some of the young people like, hey, maybe this culture that is being mass promoted to me is not a good culture. Maybe it's not so good that I'm looking up to people who are not able to do anything productive with their lives. And so really, I kind of think, when I think about the convention as we kind of go into the ABC this year, I feel like it's one of these things where I really feel like we are in the middle of a war. You can call it spiritual warfare if you want to, but it's also economic warfare. It's political warfare. It's social warfare. It's every type of warfare, right? It's a battle of the mind. Everything else, right? And I personally think that the decision to really be conscious and aware of who we are and where we're going, and then also fortifying the community on some level, sort of just laying out protocols and standards. So not, almost a little bit like kind of having our own government, but it's not a forced government, but something where we just kind of say, okay, these are some principles that we're going to try to abide by. because we've all come to agreement that these are the right principles to pursue. I think that's really a requirement, right? Like it's and the thing about it is that I can't compare it to a government because I can't force you to do anything. I wouldn't want to force you to do anything. I'm not here to coerce anybody into being anything that they don't want to be. I'm okay with persuading you. That's why I talk to you every day. Um, just like my kids in the house, I'm their bonus dad, and I can't walk in. This ain't 1982. I can't walk in with a switch, or whatever, and just whoop everybody's ass until they abide by whatever rules I want to set. I can't do that. I had to persuade them. And the way I persuaded them is probably similar to the way that I talk to you. I say, look, you can do whatever you want to do, but let me make an argument to you in terms of why this is best for you. This is not what's best for me. This is what is best for you. And it's also what's best for the group. And I'm gonna tell you, I'll tell you the truth. It actually worked pretty well with the kids. Like we're cool. Like all the kids. If you come to the convention, you're gonna meet all of our kids. Quincy is the tall one. He's 6'9". So when you see the big, he'll be the tallest guy at the place, right? So Quincy's my homeboy. He's helping me, deliver books to the venue and everything else. He was the hardest kid for me to persuade because he was protective of his mother, as any teenage black boy would be. And it took us a very long time to develop the trust to have a relationship. And now I'm very proud to say that we are super cool. And then Coco's the middle one. She's super smart. She's headed to college. She actually, if you order a book from me, Coco is the person who will ship the books to you. So if you order my books, if you go to drboycebooks.com, then you get a copy of my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, or any of my other books. Coco will be the one who ships the flashcards to you for kids and things like that. And then Taylor is she's the baby. She's very tall. They all have a great dad who's a very tall man, and I respect their dad immensely. And she's the dancer. She's the one that wants to go into the entertainment space. So I have conversations with her, warning her about Diddy parties and stuff, and the unhealthy sacrifices that a lot of our people make so they can become stars. How they become slaves because they go into this space that's controlled by people who don't look like them, and they force them to literally give up their soul in order to have what appears to be some type of success. It's not really success. It just feels like success because it's very bright and flashy and shiny, right? When you become a black celebrity in Hollywood, the whole community's like, "Oh my God, you are such a symbol of black excellence, girl. Oh my Lord, wow, you have fulfilled all your dreams." And then you get to go around to other black people and they say, "What's the secret to success? How can I be like you?" And really, what they should really say is, "Here's what you do. You go find some guy who's powerful in Hollywood, like some guy named Ibrahim Moskowitz or something, or Randolph Oppenheimer, and you offer him sexual favors. You go get on the casting couch, or you get on your knees, or if you're a man, you bend over, let him feel on your booty, and he's gonna make your dreams come true. Or he may not make your dreams come true. He may just take something that you can't get back and give you nothing in return." That's what they really need to say to these kids, so they'll really understand the for real behind this. I wish the community could understand. See, Diddy is kind of just the tip of the iceberg. Diddy's like, that's just, remember, Diddy isn't just relevant because of who he is and what he did or allegedly did. Diddy is relevant because Diddy is emblematic of a broader systemic construct. He is the culture. Think about it. For many years, what would Diddy was like, "This is the culture. This is the culture." And people were like, "Yeah, we're gonna do this for the culture." If you had asked people 5 years ago, "Do you think Diddy represents the culture?" They'd be like, "Yeah, Diddy is the culture. Diddy shapes the culture." Right? So my point is to say that I wish everyone knew. Like there are world famous actors and actresses right now that if I told you what I knew about these people, and I'm not that petty, I'm not going to do that. But if I told you what I knew in terms of how they got to be famous, it would make you want to vomit. It would make you throw up, and you would go warn your children, and you probably want to freaking call the police in advance because it's really that crazy. It's that debaucherous in terms of what's happening. So literally, when I talk to Taylor, I'm just really honest. I'm like, look, let's talk about business models. Number one, because the way they control our people is through money. That's what it is. They have the money. They have access to bank financing. So therefore, they then have the ability to fund films and whatever, all these projects that we're trying to get connected to. I don't want you to get invited to be a part of somebody's project. I want you to know how to go get the bank financing so you can do your own project and invite people to be a part of something that you're creating in your image. I don't want that little girl to be somebody's slave. I don't need her being somebody's hoe. I don't need her being a concubine to a rich man. I want her to be an economic god. I want her to have the ability to manifest and to create at the highest levels, not just in terms of writing a movie script, not just in terms of getting to play an epic role and winning an Oscar, a Grammy, or whatever. I don't care about none of that crap. I want you to be able to shape your life into what you need it to be and to be able to live with yourself. You know, you'd be amazed how many of these people have all the success in the world, but they're depressed. Anybody ever seen Justin Bieber's interviews where he's literally this guy who's made $50 million a year for a long time? He's made $500 million, but he's incredibly unhappy and stressed out. And he started crying when they asked when he started talking about the sacrifices he made to get to where he is. I feel sorry for him. I don't look at that and say, oh, that's such an example of success. We want all of our kids. How did you become the next Justin Bieber? Well, I mean, you could just do what Justin did, or allegedly, or whatever he's done to get here. And you could, that's, I mean, you may not get the money, but you can do what he did. Like, that model has been tried and true. So I just really think overall that this is why the economics matters. The economics matters because if you control your economics in your community, in your family, and in your life, you get to choose the life that you want to live. You're not pissed off and stressed out and oppressed every day. You're not having to make these unhealthy sacrifices and compromises that so many of our black celebrities have to make. I really think that money is one of the keys to happiness. The conscious and intelligent application of wealth opens doors to possibilities that you'll never get by being a slave and submitting to other people's will. All it takes is planning and the constructive use of time. Now I'm gonna go, guys, because believe it or not, I actually made it back to the hotel on time. So I'm gonna go ahead and start money in the morning at our regular time. So if you still want to join us in the private Zoom, just come on in. I didn't cancel it or anything. I thought I just got online and text you guys because I was thinking I wouldn't be able to make it, but I actually did make it. So let me go up to my hotel room, and I'm gonna finish up there. And by the way, if you one thing I mentioned to you guys is that there is a retirement crisis on the way. It's actually happening right now, and I think that everyone of all ages should understand how retirement works and why even young people who plan for retirement are going to be in better shape even when they're young than people who wait. And so, if you want to go take a look at something I put together a whole curriculum and a training on this. It's at drboyceretirement.com. So feel free to go to drboyceretirement.com. And also, if you want to get invited into the private Zoom for our Money in the Morning Financial Consciousness Economic Elevation Training, just text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948, and I'll send you guys an invitation. I'm literally going to start in 13 minutes. So let me get out of here and get upstairs. And those that are coming to the convention, I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to hug you. I can't wait to talk to you in 3D. And those who are thinking about coming to the convention, I hope you'll consider it. It's really a loving, wonderful, warm experience. It's also informative and educational. It's we got the best experts in our community, and it's a revolution we're building. We are actually implementing, and we're actually getting things done. We're getting results. That's something that a lot of people can't say. There's a lot of talking, but not a lot of doing, not a lot of completing, not a lot of growth. We are growing. We have millionaires in our space who were not millionaires 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, and then we have families that are much more stable than they were before. We have people that are much happier than they were before. People that are much freer than they were before. Families that are doing better than they were before. So we get things done. The All Black National Convention. There's no other place like it. So those of you that are already here, I already saw some of the families that already came in, and I was really happy to see you. And So maybe you'll consider coming next year. I think you guys will like it. So anyway, God bless you. Have a good day. And again, text morning to 87948, and you'll get an invitation to our Money in the Morning class. We do it every single day. So I look forward to talking to you guys soon. Love you. Bye.